Let's be honest. When a woman pulls back, when she seems distant, or when she avoids your texts, your first thought is usually, she's losing interest, she's ignoring me. But that assumption is a trap, one that keeps most men stuck in anxiety, overthinking, and chasing someone who might actually care deeply but is terrified of feeling. What if I told you that her distance isn't about you being less than enough, it's about her being afraid to get hurt again? That the walls you see aren't rejection, they're a shield. Think about the last time she seemed hesitant. The moments when she avoided saying, "I love you," or seemed distracted when you were together. You felt it in your chest, didn't you? That sinking. Not in your stomach feeling that whispered, "Am I losing her?" But here's the secret. Hesitation isn't a lack of feeling. It's a deep, silent fear, rooted in past heartbreaks, betrayals, or moments where vulnerability cost her everything. And men, this is where most of you fail. You treat her distance like a challenge, a game to win. Instead of understanding the language of fear she's speaking, fear shows up in subtle ways. She might not reply for hours or even days, not because she doesn't want to, but because she's protecting her heart from the possibility of pain. She tests the waters with a laugh, a fleeting touch, or a lingering glancy breadcrumbs that only the attentive, emotionally intelligent man notices. This is where your mindset has to shift. You cannot see her fear as rejection. You have to see it as an invitation to safety, a call to show her that she can drop her defenses, that her heart is in safe hands. Here's the brutal truth most men will never hear. Women do not fall in love on your schedule. They do not trust lightly. Every woman carries a hidden ledger of hurts, betrayals, and heartbreaks. The deeper she has loved before, the harder it is for her to believe that someone new won't abandon her, cheat on her, or break her. That's why she hesitates. That's why she steps back even when she wants to move forward. And if you mistake that hesitation for disinterest, you'll never see the truth hiding behind her walls. So, how do you know if she's scared and not simply checked out? Look for patterns of hesitation combined with genuine warmth. She texts you first, sometimes even when she seems conflicted. She makes time for you even if it's brief. She smiles when you enter the room, or she touches your arm in a way that's lingering, subtle but meaningful. These are not signs of ignoring you. They are signs of a woman caught in a war between desire and fear. The question is, are you patient enough, wise enough, and emotionally calibrated to read the difference? And this is where most men panic. You feel your ego flare, your mind races, you think she's going to pull away forever. I need to act now. But acting from panic only confirms her fear. She feels your anxiety like a heat-seeking missile, and it triggers her defenses. The key here is mastery over your own emotions. Calm, grounded energy doesn't just attract her, it disarms her. It lets her see that your heart is safe, steady, and reliable. And slowly, that wall she's built begins to tremble. Most men mistake mixed signals for disinterest. But what you're seeing is actually her inner battle between desire and fear. A woman who's been hurt before isn't ignoring you. She's testing the waters, making sure that opening her heart won't lead to pain again. And if you can recognize these signs, if you can interpret the subtle dance she's doing, you'll see exactly how to move without pushing her away. She'll often retreat right after a deep conversation or an intimate moment. She laughs with you 1 second, then goes quiet the next. That pause, that sudden distance, it isn't rejection. It's her mind saying, "I like this, but what if it ends badly?" Every hesitation, every flicker of uncertainty is a defense mechanism. She's protecting herself from history, repeating itself. And the problem is, most men respond with frustration. They send more texts, they demand clarity, they try to force feelings out of her instead of trust, they reinforce fear. Another behavior to notice is how she watches your reactions. Women are hyper-aware of emotional energy. If she senses panic, neediness, or desperation, she immediately steps back. But if she sees confidence, patience, and calm, she leans in. The way she subtly tests your boundaries, delayed replies, playful teasing, sometimes seeming cold, isn't cruelty. It's her way of checking, is he steady enough to handle my heart? Then there's the vulnerability factor. A woman who's scared to get hurt often drops small pieces of her world slowly. She'll share a childhood memory, an embarrassing moment, or a fear not everything but hints. And if you respond with judgment, dismissiveness, or pressure, she closes up. But if you respond with understanding, empathy, and emotional safety, she will start to trust. And slowly those walls begin to crumble. And let's talk about the paradox. The closer she gets, the more she may pull away. This is terrifying for men who want certainty. But it's actually proof that she's interested. Why? Because her fear rises in direct proportion to her feelings. The stronger her attachment, the more she worries about losing herself in it, about giving too much, about being vulnerable again. This is where most men misread the signals. They see distance as rejection when really it's a subconscious test of emotional safety. So the question is, how do you respond? Not with anxiety, not with anger, not with games, but with presence. Be consistent, be grounded, and maintain a calm, confident energy. Don't chase, don't overanalyze, but do show that your interest is steady and your intentions are clear. When she senses you are a safe harbor, not a storm, the fear begins to loosen its grip. She starts to lean into you to show the parts of herself she's been hiding, and the connection deepens far beyond surface-level attraction. Remember, men, the behaviors that frustrate you are not signs of disinterest. They are cries for emotional safety. The way she retreats, hesitates, or tests you is her way of saying, I want to love, but I'm terrified of getting hurt again. And if you can master the art of patience and understanding, you're not just attracting her, you're healing her fear and allowing something real to grow. The reason she's scared isn't random. It's rooted in patterns, in past heartbreaks, betrayals, and moments where opening her heart cost her everything. Every woman carries invisible scars, and these scars shape how she behaves when she starts to care. The moment you sense hesitation, that's not her testing your patience. It's her past whispering. Don't get too close. You'll regret it. Understanding this is the key to breaking the cycle. Her fear is triggered by the smallest cues. A delayed reply can ignite anxiety. A change in your tone can make her retreat. But it's not about you being imperfect. It's about her survival instincts kicking in. Women are wired to protect themselves emotionally. When she pulls back, it's like a smoke alarm going off in her heart. She doesn't want pain. She wants assurance that vulnerability won't end in disaster. Most men don't see this. They see distance as rejection. They see hesitation as lack of interest. But the reality is far more complex and far more revealing. She is hyper-aware of emotional consistency. If you react with panic, jealousy, or frustration, you validate her fear. She steps further away. But when you respond with calm, steady energy, when you show patience, and understanding her fear begins to loosen, the walls start to tremble. It's almost like she's testing a hypothesis. Will this man make me feel safe, or will he repeat the mistakes of the past? Every action you take, every word you say is data for her subconscious mind, and here's the subtle genius in her behavior. She gives you pieces of herself in fragments. Maybe she shares a laugh today, a memory tomorrow, and a confession next week. She's watching, analyzing, feeling the emotional environment. The men who succeed notice these fragments. They honor them. They respond in ways that reinforce safety rather than trigger fear. They understand that real connection isn't a sprint. It's a slow, deliberate dance of trust and reassurance. She may also create small tests to gauge your consistency. She might vanish for a day or question your intentions or tease you in a way that feels slightly sharp. Don't overreact. These moments are her subconscious way of asking, are you steady enough to handle me? Men who panic at these tests fail. Men who remain grounded pass. And passing these tests doesn't just earn her trust. It shows her that her past doesn't have to dictate her present. The cruel irony is that the more she fears, her attachment deepens, even while her behavior pushes you to the edge of uncertainty. The very traits that seem confusing, distant, or frustrating are proof of her hidden desire. She's emotionally invested but terrified. Your job isn't to chase heritage where fear cannot thrive, where safety, patience, and consistency exist. That's how you turn hesitation into intimacy, walls into vulnerability, and fear into trust. And remember, Memphis is the invisible work. You cannot see it, but she senses it. The calm energy, the steady attention, the patience, it all speaks louder than words. If you master this, you're not just navigating fear, you're unlocking a love she's been too afraid to fully give anyone before. The moments when she seems to pull away the most are the exact moments she's closest to her feelings. It's paradoxical, but it's how her mind protects her heart. When fear rises, attachment rises. When she hesitates, it's not that she's leaving you, just happen to be standing at the crossroads of her desire and her doubt, and this is where most men fail. They see retreat and panic instead of leaning into understanding. Pay attention to timing. She might vanish after an intense conversation, after a night together, or even after a small moment of connection. That retreat isn't cruelty, it's self-protection. Her heart is screaming, I want this. But what if it hurts? And every man who reacts with pressure, overanalysis, or jealousy pushes her further into fear. The smarter, more emotionally tuned man responds differently. He stays steady, he doesn't chase her shadows, he becomes the anchor that allows her storm to pass. There's a critical difference between interest and fear-driven behavior. A woman who's truly checked out will stop showing even small signs of warmth. She won't tease, she won't touch, she won't linger. But a woman who is scared, she leaves destiny, almost invisible breadcrumbs, a glance that holds too long, a smile that lingers even when she's hesitant, a laugh that seems to fight through tension. These are signs she's invested emotionally. Even if her mind is screaming, stay safe, pull back. And men, you must learn to interpret these breadcrumbs correctly. Most read them as mixed signals, confusing them, and respond with panic. But the truth is, these subtle actions are her way of showing you trust, just enough to test if you'll respect her limits while encouraging connection. If you can hold your energy steady, respond with calm reassurance, and mirror her emotional pace, fear begins to transform. Hesitation slowly turns into openness. Walls start to feel unnecessary. She begins to relax into your presence. The challenge is patience, real deep patience. You cannot force her heart to move faster than her fear allows. You cannot demand clarity when she's not ready. But if you demonstrate consistency, reliability, and emotional safety, she will eventually step fully into her feelings. She will lean in, not because you forced it, but because she feels secure enough to let her guard down. And that's where the magic happens, the point where hesitation turns into trust, fear turns into intimacy, and uncertainty becomes desire. Remember, the moments that feel like rejection are actually opportunities. Every pause, every test, every retreat is her subconscious asking, are you capable of handling me at my most vulnerable? The men who succeed are the ones who answer not with fear, but with steadiness, not with pressure, but with understanding, not with words, but with consistent action that proves her heart is safe with you. And here's the reality most men overlook. She isn't scared of losing you, she's scared of losing herself again. She's scared that giving too much, loving too deeply, or trusting too quickly will lead to heartbreak. And your role isn't to fix her past, it's to create the present where she feels safe enough to risk it. The way you respond to her fear will determine everything. You see, she's not just testing your patience, she's testing your emotional intelligence. She's watching if you can handle uncertainty. If you can stay grounded when her fear surfaces, if you can prove that her heart is safe with you, most men fail this test without even realizing it. They react impulsively, chase or demand proof of her feelings. But the men who succeed, they do something almost invisible. They create emotional safety. Emotional safety is not about grand gestures. It's about consistent, small and steady actions that communicate reliability and understanding. It's the tone in your voice when she hesitates, the way you maintain calm even when she pulls away, the patience to allow her to open at her own pace. It's not passive, it's powerful. She notices it, even if she doesn't say anything. Her subconscious reads it louder than words. It says, "This man won't hurt me, I can trust him." Pay attention to the subtle signs she responds to. A woman who's scared to get hurt notices when you don't overreact to delays in communication. She notices when you respect her boundaries without frustration. She notices when you mirror her energy instead of forcing your own. Every time you demonstrate patience and understanding, you chip away at the fear that's been controlling her behavior. Every small gesture of emotional stability becomes a signal that it's safe to lean in, safe to be vulnerable, safe to love. And here's the psychological trick that men often miss. Fear is inversely proportional to trust. The more fear she carries, the more careful you must be with your energy. The more calm, consistent, and reliable you are, the faster fear melts into attraction. She's wired to test these boundaries because her past has taught her that love can hurt. But when she feels steady, she begins to relax. She begins to invest. She begins to show you the parts of herself she's protected for years. It's also important to notice the moments when she opens up even slightly. Every confession, every laugh, every lingering glance is her way of dropping a piece of the shield she's built. These are signals of trust. They're her way of saying, "I want you, I'm scared, but I'm leaning in." If you respond with reassurance, emotional consistency, and respect for her pace, those moments compound. Fear slowly transforms into desire, hesitation into intimacy, and walls into connection. Remember, men, this is about energy, not words. You don't need to convince her, chase her, or win her over with logic. You need to hold your own energy steady, be the calm in her storm, the anchor in her uncertainty, the safe space where vulnerability feels possible. That's how you transform fear into trust. That's how you become the man she's willing to risk her heart with, the man she leans into, the man she doesn't just like but falls for. The women who pull back the most are often the ones who feel the deepest. Her hesitation, her tests, her subtle retreats, they aren't rejection, they're protection. She's holding back because she's been hurt, because she's learned the hard way that vulnerability can be dangerous. And the man who understands this, who reads between the lines of fear and desire, is the one who wins her trust, her respect, and ultimately her heart. When she finally leans in, it's not because she was force-seated, it's because she feels safe. Safe enough to risk, safe enough to invest, safe enough to let go of past pain. And the moments leading up to that point, every test, every pause, every hesitated glance was a doorway that only opens for the man who remains calm, confident, and steady. The man who doesn't panic, who doesn't chase, who doesn't try to control her emotions, but who instead creates a space where love feels possible, not dangerous. You see, man, this is the invisible work of connection. You're not winning her with charm, wit, or grand gestures. You're winning her with presence, with emotional intelligence, with the kind of patience that feels almost invisible, but is profoundly powerful. You're showing her that her past doesn't define her future, that her fear doesn't dictate her choices, and that her heart is safe in your hands. And when she sees this, truly sees that hesitation turns into trust, walls crumble, and desire blooms into a connection that feels rare, unshakable, and real. Here's the ultimate truth. The behavior that frustrates you, confuses you, or makes you question her feelings is actually proof that she's invested. Her fear is the shadow of her desire. The more she pulls back, the more she wants closeness, but she's scared to admit it. Your role isn't to pressure her or force answers. Your role is to remain steady, patient, and present. To hold a space where vulnerability is safe, to show her that love doesn't have to hurt, that connection doesn't have to terrify, and that her heart is not alone anymore. Now, here's a question for you, and I want you to think carefully. If her fear of getting hurt is 7 out of 10 and her desire for connection is 9 out of 10, what should your approach be to create safety without triggering her fear? Comment your answer below. I want to see how your mind works. If this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe for more insights into female psychology and dating dynamics, and share this video with a friend who needs to understand this hidden truth about women. Because the men who understand this, the ones who see fear for what it is and respond with patience and intelligence, aren't just attracting women, they're creating connections that us